As everybody knows, injuries are part of sports and baseball is no exception. Players can be hurt in a variety of ways, such as getting hit by a 90+ mile per hour pitch, breaking a bone or ligament from the unnatural and violent motion of pitching a baseball, getting hit in the face by a line drive, or from a bad hop on a grounder, or getting plowed through by a runner trying to score or break up a double play. And those are just a few examples. Fortunately, graphic and horrific injuries are fairly rare considering how many baseball games are played, but they have happened. And today, we'll be counting down the 10 most memorable, horrific, and impactful injuries in MLB history. Injuries that caused major changes to the game of baseball or threatened to end a player's career or even worse, their life. But before getting into the main list, which just consists of MLB moments, there are a couple of minor league injuries that definitely deserve a mention. The Tyler Zombro incident. It was one of the scariest moments in professional baseball history, and it happened out of nowhere in the 9th inning of a typical AAA minor league game in Durham, North Carolina. Tampa Bay Rays prospect Tyler Zombro was facing Brett Cumberland of the Norfolk Tides. Cumberland smashed a 104 mile per hour line drive off Zombro's head, causing Zombro to lose consciousness and then go into a seizure. Zombro was quickly removed from the field on a stretcher and taken into surgery, where surgeons had to insert 16 titanium plates and 36 screws to repair a major skull fracture. He eventually regained consciousness and had to undergo physical, speech, and occupational therapy. He made a miraculous recovery and returned to the mound, throwing a scoreless inning his first game back. The Mike Kuba tragedy. Mike Kuba played 17 years of pro baseball, including parts of 2 seasons in the big leagues, hitting 260 total professional home runs. He retired after the 2006 season and became a coach in the Colorado Rockies organization. In July of 2007, as the first base coach for the Tulsa Drillers, tragedy struck when he was hit in the neck by a line drive, resulting in a severe brain hemorrhage that almost instantly killed him. Kuba was pronounced dead less than an hour after being struck by the line drive. And that offseason, it was determined that all base coaches in the major and the minor leagues would wear helmets. Now let's get into the main list. Number 10, Buster Posey's season-ending break. In 2010, Buster Posey hit .305 with 18 bombs and caught every inning of the playoffs, helping to lead the San Francisco Giants to their first World Series since moving west from New York. But the next year, Posey's season was cut short on May 25th during a play at the plate with the Marlins' Scott Cousins attempting to score.
More center than right. Cousins is going to test him. Posey can't handle it, and Posey gets clobbered. Posey is hurt.
Posey fractured his fibula and tore multiple ligaments. He missed the remainder of the 2011 season before bouncing back in 2012, winning the MVP and Comeback Player of the Year awards. The injury led MLB to reinterpret the rulebook and adopt Rule 7.13, the Buster Posey rule, stating that a runner attempting to score may not deviate from his direct pathway in order to initiate contact with the catcher. Number 9, the Ray Fosse-Pete Rose collision. This play did not end Ray Fosse's career or even put him on the disabled list, but he was never really the same again. Pete Rose had a chance to score the winning run in the 1970 All-Star game and was hustling towards home plate, with the only thing between him and victory being the catcher, Ray Fosse. You can guess what happened next.
Rose is coming to the plate, throws the throw. He's in. It's all over. The National League wins.
The collision separated Fosse's shoulder, although it was improperly diagnosed at the time, and he didn't miss any games. But according to Fosse, the pain from the injury lingered throughout his career and life. There is debate to whether or not this injury ruined his career, but he was a top prospect who had 16 home runs with a .312 batting average at the All-Star break, and then hit just 2 the rest of the season. His power completely vanished, and he never topped 12 home runs in a season for the rest of his career. Number 8, Mickey Mantle versus the Drain. A knee injury that likely had a major impact on history occurred in the 5th inning of Game 2 of the 1951 World Series. Mickey Mantle was a red-hot rookie who could do it all, including hit for tremendous power as a switch hitter and absolutely fly on the base paths. He was playing right field with veteran superstar Joe DiMaggio in center. Yankees manager Casey Stengel instructed Mantle to go for everything hard because DiMaggio's heel was hurting. The Giants' Willie Mays hit a fly ball to right center field and the 2 fielders converged, with Mantle hustling hard for it. In the book The Last Boy, Mantle is quoted as saying, "I was running as hard as I could. At that point in time, I could outrun anybody. I ran over to catch it just as Casey had told me to. Just as I was getting ready to put my glove up, I heard him say, 'I got it.' Well, shit, you don't want to run into Joe DiMaggio in center field in Yankee Stadium, so I slammed on my brakes. When he did so, Mantle's spikes got caught in an exposed drain pipe, and something in his right knee tore, and he went down in tremendous pain. Mantle suffered a severely torn ligament, one that would have required immediate surgery today, but back then, he was told to let it heal on its own. He eventually had multiple knee surgeries and had almost no cartilage by the time his career was over. After the injury, Mantle played the rest of his career with a torn or semi-torn ACL and never played again without pain. But he was still good enough to smash 536 home runs and become an all-time great. It is absolutely incredible to just imagine how good he might have been if not for that injury in the 1951 World Series. Number 7, Tony Coniglio hit by a pitch. Tony Coniglio played mostly for the Boston Red Sox, and his pro career started in 1963 when he tore up the minor leagues, hitting .363 with 24 home runs. The next year he was in the Red Sox lineup and hit .290 with 24 bombs, followed by a league-leading 32 homers in 65, becoming the youngest American League player to ever lead the league in home runs. The Red Sox had a superstar, and he made the All-Star team in 67 and hit his 100th home run at just 22 years old. But then everything changed on August 18, 1967, against the California Angels. A pitch from Jack Hamilton struck Coniglio in the face, causing a linear fracture of his left cheekbone, a dislocated jaw, and severe damage to his left retina. He was carried off the field on a stretcher, and it was questionable whether he would ever play again. His eyesight was permanently damaged. Coniglio missed the next 2 seasons entirely. Then in 1969, 2.5 years after playing his last game, he attempted a comeback. And it was absolutely amazing as he hit 20 home runs with a .255 average, driving in 82 runs. His amazing comeback inspired the Tony Coniglio Award, which has since been awarded to those who overcome adversity. Unfortunately, his eyesight worsened and he was eventually forced to retire, but the fact that he came back from such a horrific injury to play 4 more years is truly inspirational, and there's no telling how good Coniglio may have been had that injury never occurred. Number 6, Tony Saunders breaks arm. Pitcher Tony Saunders was originally signed as an undrafted free agent in 1992 by the expansion Florida Marlins, and he dominated the minor leagues as a starter, although he had to miss time in 1994 and 95 due to elbow reconstruction surgery. He continued to pitch well after the surgery and earned a call-up to the big leagues in 1997 when he became a part of the Marlins rotation. Saunders was picked up by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in their inaugural draft for the 98 season. He had a rough year but was 9th in the league in strikeouts and still had a bright career ahead. That is, until one fateful game in 1999 when Saunders delivered a 3-2 pitch to Juan Gonzalez and his elbow snapped.
Here's the set. The 3-2 pitch, a wild pitch back to the screen. Scoring from third is Alicea. It's ball 4 and Saunders is hurt.
It was loud enough for the entire stadium to hear. Saunders collapsed to the ground, screaming in agony as his teammates rushed to his side. He was carted off the field in too much pain to even walk. It was one of the most horrific moments in MLB history, and he was diagnosed with a humerus fracture and torn ligament, ending his season. As it turned out, it also ended his career. Saunders bravely attempted a comeback, but during a rehab game in the minors, the humerus snapped again, leading to his retirement. He tried to come back again in 2005 and pitched in a spring training game for the Orioles and in a few independent league games with the Mesa Miners, but he never made it back to the big leagues. Number 5, Adam Greenberg, instant career ender. In 2002, Adam Greenberg was drafted by the Chicago Cubs and worked his way through the minor leagues, getting promoted in 2005. It looked like he had a bright future as a big leaguer until the first pitch he ever saw.
Oh my goodness!
Greenberg never got the chance to prove whether or not he could stick in Major League Baseball, as a 92-mile-per-hour pitch from Valerio de los Santos hit Greenberg in the back of the head. He fell to the ground in pain and had the sensation that his head had been split open. He suffered a skull fracture and a severe concussion, spending the rest of the season on the DL. He had vertigo symptoms for years, including headaches, nausea, double vision, and dizziness. And then, a string of other ailments thwarted any comeback attempts, but he continued to play in the minor leagues with various organizations including the Dodgers, Angels, and Royals before ending up in the independent leagues. After 4 years with the Bridgeport Bluefish, it was becoming clear Greenberg would never make it back to the big leagues. That is, until the Miami Marlins, the team Greenberg was facing when he was hit in the head, signed him to a one-day contract in order to give him a chance to have a proper MLB at-bat. It was a great gesture by the Marlins, although they had him face the unhittable R.A. Dickey, who was baffling even the greatest MLB hitters at the time. So unfortunately, he struck out on 3 pitches, and R.A. Dickey went on to win the Cy Young Award and lead the league in strikeouts. But at least Greenberg got his one official MLB at-bat. Number 4, Juan Encarnacion, career-ending foul ball. 2-time World Series champion and 11-year veteran, Juan Encarnacion's career ended without notice in July of 2007 while he was waiting to bat in the on-deck circle.
Our final month just about, so... Oh my goodness, and that hits Encarnacion on deck, and it might have got him right in the face.
Teammate Aaron Miles hit an absolute rocket towards Encarnacion, who had his eyes elsewhere at the moment. The baseball smashed his left eye, and he fell to the ground, remaining still for several minutes as the crowd went silent. He eventually got up and waved a stretcher away. The Cardinals rallied that inning and won the game, making Tony La Russa the winningest manager in Cardinals history, but he was not in the mood to celebrate after what had happened. The line drive caused a fractured bone and the immediate end to Encarnacion's 2007 season. As it turned out, it was also the end of his career, as his eyesight never fully recovered, and he never played professional baseball again. Number 3, Dave Dravecky breaks arm. Dave Dravecky was a solid left-handed arm in the San Diego Padres rotation for several years in the 80s, making an all-star team in 1983 and maintaining an ERA around 3 every season. On July 4th, 1987, the Giants traded for him. He pitched well for the Giants, including a shutout performance in the 1987 playoffs against St. Louis. In 1988, he was pitching well after 7 starts when a cancerous tumor was found in his pitching arm. It was a rare and aggressive tumor positioned on his left deltoid muscle, a muscle that is needed by pitchers to even pitch. Doctors would have to remove the tumor and the surrounding muscle, a huge portion of his arm, in order to save his life. The surgery was performed in October of 1988, and half of the deltoid muscle was removed. The humerus bone was frozen as well in order to kill all of the cancerous cells. Doctors advised him he would never pitch again, but Dave Dravecky had other plans. His rehab was astonishingly fast, going from not being able to move the arm at all to lifting 1-pound dumbbells to actually pitching, all in a matter of months. And by 1989, Dravecky already felt ready to pitch again, although doctors urged him to wait until at least 1990. They feared that the frozen humerus bone could snap if stressed too early, but Dravecky was determined, and he returned to the minors on a rehab assignment where he threw 3 complete games. Imagine a pitcher today being allowed to complete 3 games in their early minor league rehab after major surgery from a cancerous tumor. But that's what happened in 1989, and it convinced the Giants he was ready for his official comeback game. On August 10th, 1989, he pitched 8 innings, defeating the Reds 4-3 in an amazing day at Candlestick Park. But during his next start in Montreal, he felt a strange tingling in his arm, but continued to pitch anyway. And then the unthinkable happened.
Here's the pitch to the plate, and it goes all the way to the screen. Dravecky falls down and grabs his left shoulder, and he is hurting. Dravecky is hurt badly.
And the entire stadium heard the snap as Dravecky broke his arm on a pitch, just as doctors had feared. Later, the cancer returned with a vengeance, and he had to have his arm amputated. Dave Dravecky never threw another MLB pitch after that horrific injury, but he continues to travel the country today and give motivational speeches. Number 2, Doc Powers' wall collision. This is an injury that may or may not have immediately led to the death of an MLB player, but my research indicates that an on-field injury may never have even happened at all, and if it did, it probably just accelerated an already existing medical condition. Mike "Doc" Powers started his pro career way back in 1898 with the Louisville Colonels after playing college ball at Holy Cross and Notre Dame. He ended up playing most of his career with the Philadelphia Athletics as a backup catcher and first baseman, and was also a physician when not playing baseball, hence the nickname. On opening day in 1909, he was beginning his 11th MLB season in the starting lineup for the Athletics. According to many online sources, including Wikipedia, during the first play of the game, he crashed into a wall at full speed, chasing a fouled pop fly. Powers stayed in the game and even got a base hit, but none of the medical reports or newspaper articles that I could find from that time period mention any on-field injury as part of what caused his condition. What articles of the time do say is that in the 7th inning of the game, he became noticeably ill, some mentioning that it occurred after eating a ham sandwich. Powers insisted on finishing the game and did so, going 1 for 4, and then was taken immediately to the hospital. Physicians determined he was suffering from a condition described as a strangulation of the intestines, or intussusception, a life-threatening condition that occurs when part of the intestine folds into the next section, blocking the flow of food and fluids. This is not a condition that would be caused by a collision, as his intestines were decaying due to a lack of blood supply, indicating he had been suffering from this condition for a substantial period of time. Powers underwent immediate emergency surgery, and more than a foot of gangrenous intestines had to be removed. He rallied for a time and showed some improvement, but the problems returned, and after 2 additional surgeries, he passed away 2 weeks after the game. Although it is written all over the internet that Powers experienced an on-field injury that led to his death, long articles written after his death at the time never mention any on-field injury or collision, nor do articles about the actual game. I researched this mystery for hours and found one 2014 internet piece that questioned the on-field injury theory, and it agrees that there is no evidence an on-field injury actually led to his death, and he was likely already suffering from the condition before the game even started. I will link that website in the description. I'll still put this possible injury at number 2, because if there was an on-field injury, it was bad enough to send Powers to the hospital, where he eventually lost his life. And if there wasn't, he still got sick in the middle of the game that he was playing in and died just 2 weeks later. Number 1, Ray Chapman hit in the head. But coming in at number 1 is a story that can be confirmed, and it's the only definite on-field injury that led to the death of an MLB player. It happened to lifelong Cleveland player Ray Chapman, who was playing in his 9th season. He had over 1,000 career hits and had stolen 238 bases. Chapman even set a single-season MLB record with 67 sacrifice hits in 1917, a record that stands today. On August 16, 1920, he was taking an at-bat at the Polo Grounds, facing Yankees pitcher Carl Mays. Mays was known as a beanball pitcher who liked to throw inside. Back during this time, the balls were commonly dirtied with soil or tobacco juice and not typically thrown out of the game until they were hit in the stands or out of the ballpark, and even then, sometimes the ball would be retrieved and put back in play. Hitters also did not wear helmets. This led to a tragic situation in which Chapman did not pick up the high and inside pitch from Mays and was hit so hard in the head, Mays thought it had hit the end of Chapman's bat. He fielded the ball and threw to first. Meanwhile, Chapman crumbled to the ground. The crowd went silent as medical personnel rushed to assist the batter. Chapman briefly regained consciousness and made it to his feet, but collapsed before reaching the clubhouse. His skull was cracked, and doctors operated on him throughout the night. He initially survived the surgery, but then passed away later in the morning. At first, much outrage was placed towards Carl Mays with demands that he be banned, but Mays insisted the ball was wet and simply got away from him, also saying, "It is the most regrettable incident of my baseball career. I would give anything if I could undo what has happened." Mays went into seclusion for about 10 days before rejoining his team. The death of Ray Chapman had an enormous impact on the future of the game, as spitballs were banned along with the scuffing or altering of the baseball in any way. Baseballs hit out of play were not used again, and the live ball era was introduced. Helmets eventually became the norm and are now required to be worn by all batters and base runners. Fortunately, no other player has been killed from an on-field injury since the tragedy of Ray Chapman. And that'll do it for today's video on some of the worst, most horrific, and tragic injuries in MLB history. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts in that comment section down below. Have a wonderful day and check out another interesting video by clicking on one of the links up above. We'll talk to you again in the next countdown.